Views and opinions expressed in this episode of the Psychic Chat Show are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Gareth Lewis and the Psychic Chat Show podcast. Any content provided by our guests are of their opinion and not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organisation, company, individual, or anyone or anything. Welcome to the Psychic Show podcast with me, Gareth Lewis. Today I have with me Stacy Sparke. Stacy has been a tarot reader for over 30 years, and today she will be telling us how she reads the tarot cards. And can tarot readers really predict the future? So let me introduce this week's guest, Stacy Sparke. And thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me, Gareth.
Not a problem. It's going to be a very interesting chat to be able to talk about tarot cards. It's something I've done for many years, and it's always good to be able to talk to someone else and have their views on how they actually read cards, because I believe that we all read cards completely different and we all look at them and interpret them differently. So, you know, it's different to be able to pick one card from another, and I'm sure we'll go into that and see what your views are on it. So I believe you've got about 30 years or so experience in reading tarot cards?
Yes, I started very young.
Very young. What, very young actually reading cards?
Well, yeah, I was about 18 when I was introduced to tarot.
Okay, so
yes.
So give me a kind of an insight to picking your first tarot cards up, or when was you actually introduced to them? How did that actually start?
So I was up in Blackpool, and this lady came out of a shop,
Blackpool,
and she said, "Oh, tell me about it." She was obviously drumming for business. Well, that's the way I took it anyway. And she was like, "Oh, you have the gift. Come into the shop." And I was like, "Oh, no, thanks, love." And she gave me a little sprig of lucky heather, which I took. And you know what? I gave her a £5 because I really felt sorry for her. And I wished her a good day and went on my way. So it was about a year after that that I was introduced to a lady who was my friend's mum. I'd made friends with this girl who I was at college with. And she said the same to me. She's like, you have the gift for reading tarot. And I was like, oh, here we go again. I'd never picked up a tarot card in my life. Do you know what I mean?
Did you actually know about tarot cards? Did you know about psychics and things at the time? It was completely new.
I did know a bit about it because as a small child, I saw spirit.
All right. Okay.
And I used to moan at my mum and dad that there were strangers that stood around staring and stuff. And so my mum ended up taking me to a spiritualist church from the age of about 8 to get some understanding of why I kept seeing these strange people. Yeah.
Well, I know we kind of go off a little bit, but just bringing that into it. So really, I don't know, psychic, mediumship, it's always been part of your family or part of you from a very, very young age.
Part of me, definitely. I wouldn't say so. None of my brothers or sisters ever showed any insights into seeing anything strange. But for me, definitely from a young age, I knew we were never alone.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Let's go back to so you went seeing a friend, did you? Did you say you went seeing someone? And
yeah. So she said to me, pick a card and tell me what it means. I was like, I can't. She said, yes, you can. Pick a card. So I picked a card out of her deck. She's like, tell me what it means then. So she went, just say it. Don't think about it. Just say it. So I picked a card up, just for argument's sake, it was like the Ace of Cups. And I looked at the card and I was like, well, I don't know, it's a gift of something, a ring, a baby, I don't know. So she went, look in the book. So I looked in the book and it was on about a gift. So then she was like, pick another card. So I picked another one. And she went on like this for about 5 or 6 cards. And she kept making me open the book to see what it meant. And I was like, oh my God, this is so strange. So, yeah, I started to take a real interest then when I noticed that what I was saying seems to be, coinciding with what was written in this book to do with tarot.
So
yeah.
you go then on to, obviously you're looking more into it, getting more intrigued and more interested. Did you go into reading the book? Do you kind of like, not necessarily now, but then did you refer to the book if you was giving someone a reading or, one of your friends a reading? Did you refer back to the book, or did you just give?
I gave readings for friends and things, just literally was just entertainment. You're a teenager, you're not doing a lot, are you? You're just going college, you're going out pubbing it. And just as a sideline, I wanted to start reading for friends just to see, for me, if I did have some sort of gift. But yes, I did refer to the book as for clarification, because I constantly self-doubted myself.
Yeah, you do, don't
you? Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Stacy, sorry, did it become kind of like, as you was kind of like in those early years of your life, 18, 20, I know it happened with me when I first started doing mediumship. I bet people came up to you and said, oh, can you give us a reading? Or, oh, what cup off me? Do you know, it becomes kind of like you sat in a pub, you're having your own little time, your own little drink, and one of your mates turn around and say, oh, have you got anything for me? Did that
happen? Constantly. And but I went with it because I thought the more I experienced, I gained for myself, the less self-doubt I had and the more confident I became. So those early years for me were very important to me, which is why I then went on and actually joined a course to do a proper tarot course with this woman who had a shop in Newton Abbot down in Devon where I live. And I went and did a tarot course and learned layouts and things, and it was very knowledgeable.
So in that respect then, you can be taught tarot, can you? So were you kind of instinctively picked it up? Is it that kind of thing? Are you natural, or do people have to learn it, or how do you actually begin to be able to read the tarot cards?
I think you've got to have a natural curiosity to want to, to be drawn to tarot. I mean, can people predict the future from a pack of cards? That's what drew me. I wanted to know, was it possible? So if you're not naturally intuitive to what the cards mean, I think you can learn from books. You can. I think it will be a lot harder for people, but I noticed that people that are naturally intuitive with reading cards kind of fly with it, don't they? They excel, whereas the other guys that have to rely on a book tend to kind of fall by the wayside a little bit.
I know my partner, she'll turn around to me and say, oh, why don't you read me cards? Why don't you read me cards? And I remember, talking early 90s, and I was married at the time, and I remember sitting down with my wife, because I got married quite young, and I remember sitting down, and I was getting more interested in the tarot cards, and I got given these cards, and we were sat down one day. And I remember very, very clearly sitting down in front of the fire, and she said, go on, do me some cards. So as I dealt them, and I looked, and I turned around to her and I said, who's Jason? And she went, oh, no, No, that wasn't part of our friend group, or it wasn't anything to do with us, And I said, well, I don't like him. And he said, what do you mean you don't like him? If you don't know him, I said, I just don't like him. And again, this was all very much at the beginning of my journey, in my early 20s of when I started. And I remember turning around and saying that to her. And then just a short time later, she got a new job. Long story short, she ended up having an affair with Jason. And, she went off and we got separated and we got divorced. And, and that was that. So from there on, I don't do cards for people I'm close to and I'm connected with. Do you do cards? And have you got an experience, a similar kind of thing of, with one of your own family members, what you've picked up on?
Oh, gosh, yes. So not a family member, a very, very close friend of mine asked me if I would do her cards. So I'm quite lucky, Gareth, in the fact that when I lay cards out, be it for a friend or a stranger, I've got the ability to take an emotional step back and read them as if I don't know them. But the difficulty is when you're doing it for a friend or a family, you have to prove you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because you know about their life, don't you? You know what's going on through the personal situation.
Absolutely. So normally when I do a layout for close friends or family, they will tell me something about their past before I knew them that I did not know, just to clarify that this reading is going to be spot on, which I am absolutely grateful for, because I don't like having to prove myself, but I do believe we have to prove ourselves to people we know. So my friend, anyway, she came to me for a reading and I said to her, oh, you've been a bit poorly. And she said, yeah. I said, I really think you need to see the doctor. Oh, no, she said, I'll be okay. I said, no, I'm serious. I think you really need to see the doctor. I didn't really want to go into what I saw, but it wasn't nice. And it was about 6 months later, she did actually finally go to the doctor. And it turns out that she had stomach cancer.
Oh, dear.
And unfortunately, it was too late. It was about 8 months later that she passed away. And I often think of her in those early days when I asked her to go to the doctor. What if she'd gone to the doctors when I had asked her to? Would the outcome have been different? Would it have been different? I don't know.
I'll ask you that question. Would it have been different? Do you know, in the fact of, is it, what I'm trying to say there then, Stacy, is are things meant to be? So what's the job of a tarot reader? You know what I mean? Are you there to guide them and push them in the right direction? Or is it up to you to stop something in the tracks?
I feel personally, and this is my own personal opinion, that some things in life can be avoided. Some things can be avoided. You can change your course. But I also believe there are incidents in life that you have to actually go through in order to grow and to develop as a person. I don't know if massive things like that incident could have been changed. I really don't. That I'm still trying to work out. I really am. I mean, I could say to you, Gareth, don't go down the pub tomorrow night. There's going to be an incident. No, but if we were out of lockdown, I could say to you, Gareth, please don't go down the pub tomorrow night. There's going to be an incident and you could end up being hurt. Right now, you've got free will, and you could go, do you know what? I'm going to take Stacey's advice, and I'm not going down the pub. And you see it on the news that there was a massive incident and there was a riot of some sort. Do you know what I mean? Or you could go, she was talking codswallop. I'm going down the pub, and you end up getting hurt because you didn't take my advice. This is why I find tarot so fascinating, because at the end of the day, we have all got free will.
So the
and
response.
I can guide.
So the
Sorry.
responsibility, sorry, Stacey, the responsibility of as not just a medium, because I know you also do mediumship work as well, or you, I don't know if you're just starting that journey, but hopefully we'll get
I am.
it shortly. But I know as a medium and as a psychic, we've got such responsibility to our clients and to ourselves. You know, where you kind of like, you can say the wrong thing and it can totally change their direction, because some people, I know this for a fact, that some people, they live by every word of a tarot reader, or they live by every word of a medium. So, you know, it's kind of like they take it as, well, Stacy said, I've got to do this, or Stacy said, I've got to do that. So what do you think to people who take tarot readers and psychics that extra step further?
Well, I personally do not have people come back to me for extra readings within the year. I don't, because they could be wasting their money, because I couldn't tell them any different than what I did a year. You know, if you came to me 2 months down the line and said, do my cards again, what's the chances of anything being different at all? Yeah. So I think you have to restrict people, and trust me, I've come across a lot of other people that would love weekly readings. Tell me. You know, it almost becomes an obsession.
It's like an addiction. People get addicted to it, you know. And really, sometimes you've got to. I'm not saying you've got to feel sorry for that person, but then you've got to look. There's more behind that person, you know, for him to be reliant on a psychic or a medium. And you know, I kind of think that sometimes there's an aspect. I feel, I don't know about you, Stacey, but I kind of feel as if there's an aspect of not necessarily counselling in our job.
There is.
Kind of like being, because I'm not a qualified counsellor, I never claimed to be so. Do you know what I mean? So it's just kind of like just being there. Sometimes they just want to know that they're on the right path, or you know, things are going the right way. And then, you know, I find that when you don't answer the question the way they want to hear the answer, you know, I kind of feel as if they then say, oh, you're rubbish, you know, God. So you know, there must be many occasions where you've had clients and, you know, you've not told them what they want to hear. So when they turn around and say, well, you didn't pick up on this, or you didn't tell me about that, kind of like, how do you not get past that, but what's your feeling on, you know, what someone wants to hear and what you actually pick up?
Right. So my theory is that the spirit or the guides or the tarot will only tell me what they feel the client needs to hear. Not what they want to hear, what they need to hear. So if I don't pick up every single thing for the next 2 years, for instance, that's going to happen in their lives, it's because they don't need to know that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll tell you a wonderful experience I had.
Okay, yeah.
A young lady came to me, and she had polycystic ovaries. And she came and she sat before me and she said, I want to know if I'm ever going to have a baby. I mean, Gareth, that's a hell of a thing to ask someone, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And a hell of a thing for me now to be put in a position of, God, I hope there's something in the cards that would tell her. So I laid the cards out and I said to her, okay, I'll tell you your life story from now for the next 2 years. Because that's what I do. I tend to tell people a story of their life. And I said to her, you work in some sort of public place, like a cafe or something? So she went, yeah. I said, you're going to have a young man come in and he's going to ask you out on a date. And from that date, things will suddenly start to improve for you. You know, you're going to get on really well. You are going to have a baby. I said, and I will put money on this. I'm telling you now, you're going to have a little boy. You will get married to this man, and everything's. And she cried with joy.
Yeah.
Right. And I always ask my clients to get back to me because I like feedback.
Yeah.
I do. So she messaged me and she said, I've just had my wedding and I would like to announce that I'm having a little boy, and he's going to be born in the next 3 months. Now that little boy is coming up a year old, Gareth.
Right.
The fact that I was able to give her the answer to her question and it be a wonderful outcome,
so
even though even though science was against her, and the fact that she, she'd had struggled for years about trying to get pregnant, I think is a wonderful thing.
Then I've got to go on to the kind of point of, and it's like, so you put in that position, and you would then, as a woman as well, you would understand her anxiety, you would understand her, her feelings as well, so as a woman to woman coming with that, the responsibility is so massive.
It is massive.
You could have, I'm not saying you because you weren't wrong, but what I'm saying is, you could have been wrong. And how then would that young lady or that lady have felt, so that the responsibility that you have, and then to be able to have to have the nerve to say, I'm going to and believe in your cards.
I believe 100% in my cards.
All credit to you, Stacy. Do you know what I mean? That's all credit to you to be able to have, because, everybody, this is where psychics and mediums, we all get a bad name, because I always say there's good and bad in every industry. Doesn't matter what you do. You're a bricklayer, you're a cowboy, you're a solicitor, all these different industries, there's always someone out there to make a quick few pound. A quick few quid. And so to be able to talk to someone who's got that confidence and that belief in the gift or, in their work, and then to be proven that gives you that little bit of, not an ego, but that gives that more of a kind of like, I'm right to trust my instinct. I'm right to trust, what I'm doing. But this kind of takes me on to as well, and I was going to mention before, was, am I right in thinking that the law changed at some point to cover people on, getting readings off psychics and mediums? What was the law about? What's that?
We've been told that we're not, and I don't know why, because that the law of the land, which is human made, does not interest me. But I have to abide by the law of the land. So I have to start every reading off with, this is for entertainment purposes only, to cover myself. So I have to do that, because apparently people can sue you if they record you and say, and I tell them this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and it doesn't come true, that they've got grounds to sue me. So I have to start off every reading with, this is for entertainment purposes only.
Like as people who are listening to this and watching this now, I've got the disclaimer at the beginning, and also the disclaimer will come at the end as well. Just to say, look, these are my guests, and it is a shame really that we have to say things. We're not allowed really our own personal, belief and our own, but we've got to cover ourselves because someone might not, or someone, has got the right to sue you. I remember a case, Stacy, many years ago, and I think it was just after this change in the rule, and someone tried, and this is true, and it's ridiculous really. But a psychic who I didn't know told them that they were going to move in June. I can't remember the actual facts. And they're going to move in June, and, this is what the house is going to be like. And they moved in July.
Oh.
And the case was exactly how she described it. This media psychic described it, but they moved in July. So they tried on the thing of like, well, they got it wrong. So, and
timing is awful.
it was
You
kind of
try
like,
and predict timing.
yeah, it was thrown away. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't taken on. But I remember someone turning around to me and saying, I know someone who, you know, and this happened to them. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but I can believe it in the world that we're living at the moment. But yeah, you know, I think sometimes you've just got to be careful, haven't you, that, you know, you are, you know, doing what you're doing correctly, and you've got other people, you know, at heart.
Absolutely. I've got everyone's best interest at heart. Whoever comes to me for a reading, I seriously weigh up everything that I see. I weigh up what needs to be told, what doesn't need to be told. I mean, I'll give you another example. A client came to me and she was asking about her family. And I said, yeah, I can see your mum. Everything's fine. And don't get, I mean, these are elderly people, her parents. And she said, oh, what about my dad? And I said, I can't see your dad in the cards. What do you mean you can't see my dad in my card? I said, I can only tell you what I see. And I'm sorry, I can't see your dad in your cards. She contacted me 2 days later. Her dad had passed away the day after she'd had her card readings done.
Right. So
yeah.
How was that then taken for that lady who's obviously...
She said, I completely understand now why you couldn't see my dad in the cards.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent a message back, I'm so sorry for your loss. Yeah. I mean, what else could I say?
But you never picked that up.
I just said I couldn't see her dad.
Well, then let's just go on to it. If you saw something bad, do you see things bad in cards? And if so, are you that kind of person who would just go round the houses a little bit, or directly turn around and say that person's going to die tomorrow, or you know what? How would you deal with what you see? Because I know I've got my ways of doing it, and everybody else.
I've noticed that a lot of people do sugarcoat things, okay? Because people come to us for hope, and they come to us, you know, for something to look forward to. So each client and each reading, I have to assess separately, okay? Yes, I see bad things, and I will put it in words sometimes. I would dance around the houses a bit. Because all I want to do is plant the seed in their mind, and then hopefully it won't be such a hell of a shock if and when it happens. Do you see what I mean? I wouldn't want to come right out and say to you, Gareth, I see a child of yours dying or whatever. Do you know what I mean? That would be just too horrific, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So depending on what the situation is, depending on what it is, you would then take that approach as you see it and as you feel it. You know, so
I would say something along the lines of, I see a lot of sadness and heartache, and you guys as a family coming together for support.
You see, I've heard mediums where they turn around and said, "Oh, you know, your mum tells me in the spirit world your dad's not got long to live."
Oh.
Now, I think that's dreadful. So if I'm working with someone and I've got, say, mum in the spirit world, and I get a feeling that dad's not well at the moment, I would then turn around and say, you know, just to know that your mum's around you and around your dad at the moment, because I know he's not well. And she's just bringing that healing there, just to know that she's going to be with him all the time, you know, something like that. And then that allows them not to be scared and go away and think, oh my God, because I think that's not right. So, you know, so there's so many things with tarot cards and how they work, and, you know, we covered a few things there. One thing I'm interested in, I've got my own view on this as well, and I want to know what yours is. Can tarot cards really predict the future? Can a medium predict the future? Or are we writing our own future, and the psychic is just picking up off that person of what's going on around them? What can we predict the future? Can psychics predict the future?
I can only answer that on a personal level.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I can predict somebody's future. Mm-hmm. But that is an interesting insight, what you've said there. Are we writing our own future? And am I just picking up on the future of the client that they've already kind of written out for themselves? That's really interesting. I like that.
So
that's really interesting.
The way I look at this, Stacy, is this is the way, not necessarily I've been taught or to understand, because when we work as a medium, a psychic, and what I've done over the many years of 25, 26 years of doing it, is also looking into the mechanics of how things work. So my understanding, and again, you know, we've said that before, we've got our own views, our own, you know,
mm-hmm.
And I kind of think, and I think, well, I don't feel that we can predict the future. I feel that we are writing the future. So I explained to one of my clients just the other week that, and I said to her, I said something like, oh, you're going to move by the end of the year. And she said, so I can't remember the exact details, but she said, well, I've only just moved and I've got no intention to move in. So you've got to be wrong there. And I said, well, if I look at it on when I said things before like this, I remember years ago, I said a similar thing to someone else. And they just moved into this house and it was a nice family home. And I said, you know, you're going to move. And no intention to move in. And something happened where the family broke down, which I'd already picked up on. There was going to be problems in the family, you know, and what have you else. And they got divorced and they had to sell the house and she had to move. So I then explained it where I was picking up on the background of that person through the feeling of, even though she at the time, I remember, was quite happy in a relationship, her husband wasn't. So I was picking up on that, and just because that's being written around, and it's like you turn around to someone and say, you know, you're going to change job or your work's going to close down. No. No, I'm happy with doing what I'm doing. I've only got another 2 years before retirement. I'm going to stick there. But then I'm picking up on when they go to work, I'm picking up on their bosses. And I'm picking up on what's going on around in the back where they may be subconsciously hearing things and picking things up that the workplace isn't really doing that well. You know? So I feel as if I'm picking up something. No, I don't know, you know. So this is where I say, well, we're writing our own future, and all I'm doing is tapping into your aura, your energy, your psychic, you know, self, your inner self, and being able to tap into little bits of what's going on around you. That's my view. You know, and it's interesting that we can have a discussion where you've actually turned around and gone, do you know what, Gareth? Never thought of that. Not saying I'm going to agree with you, but hopefully you might look into that side of things, you know. So again, you know, this is the only way we learn from each other. And again,
absolutely,
it doesn't mean I'm right, Stacy. Do you know what I mean?
No.
That's just my view. And then when someone turns around to me and says, well, I think this, and this is one thing about these podcasts, is, as you've probably gathered over the last few episodes and, you know, the episodes to come, it's finding out about each other and their understanding. Yeah. And then that makes you question. You think, okay, I never thought of it like that, you know. And that's what I wanted to get about all of this. So, yeah, I do believe, but I also believe, and I think it's something you picked up on before, I do believe, and I spoke to a gentleman, I can't remember his name there, but it was one of the episodes where you look back and we was talking about points in our lives, you know, and I believe that there's certain points in our lives we've got to hit.
Yes.
You know, so then does that say, and we're going on to a different subject altogether, but similar kind of thing, do we write our lives before we come here? Now, I had this discussion with this gentleman who believes that we do, you know, and I'm kind of like, well, I believe we've got points, and how we get to them points is down to us. You know,
yes, I agree with you.
We've got to hit those points. So just as, you know, I'm glad we kind of had that. And, you know, so I know you've predicted the future and, you know, you've given people insight to what's going on in their lives. And I know you've given me a couple of your own views and your own experiences. I don't know if you've already answered this or not, but what's your best reading you've ever given? and then I'll throw it with what's your worst reading you've ever had or given. Sorry.
Oh, my best reading. Gosh. So
I know you talked about, the lady who got pregnant. That's a lovely story. That could be one of your best, but
it is up there.
yeah,
it definitely is up there.
So what's one of your best where you actually sat back yourself, you sat down in the evening, you thought, do you know what? Well done, Stacy. Yeah, that was one that I felt good about that.
Oh, I honestly feel kind of good about 80% when I can do that about 80% of the time, Gareth.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's only now and then that you'll get some fundamental sadness come through the cards to do with somebody. I did a client a couple of weeks ago via video, and that was wonderful because they came to me and they were downtrodden. She felt like she was doubting the future of her marriage. She was worried about her father-in-law. There were so many issues that she came to me with, and I trust my cards 100%. I don't just obviously read the cards. Spirit do step in and talk to me as well. But I reassured her marriage wasn't going to be breaking down. Her husband's not planning on leaving her. Her father-in-law is going to be fine for the next couple of years. I mean, yes, he's 91, but he's going to be fine for the next couple of years. So she went away really positive about her immediate future. And anybody that will walk away from me feeling much better, then I've got to have done a good job.
This is where we can turn into skeptics and go, it doesn't matter if you believe or don't believe, we're not giving people false hope. If our clients can walk away with some kind of hope or some kind of feeling or whatever it may be, then forget the rest of it. They walked away better than when they walked in.
Yeah.
So just very quickly before we finish, Stacy, what's your worst experience?
My worst experience is yet to unfold.
Okay, that's fine. Well,
I have predicted somebody. I've predicted a client, an outcome for a client, which I'm waiting for, and I hope. And I hope it doesn't come true.
Yeah. Well, let's look at it that probably not to use the word worst. One of the ones where you talked about the lady and her husband, as being not a great, message to actually have to give. Yeah. Stacy, we're going to come to the end of this, but just tell people where they can find you, how they can book you for a reading if they're interested, where can they get in touch with you, how can people get in touch with you if they want a reading off Stacy?
Well, I'm on Facebook under Stacy Sparke, my real name. I also have a page called Learning Tarot. If they want to join that one, they can contact me through either one of those. But the thing is, Gareth, and word of mouth, obviously, only come to me if you really want to know the truth.
Recommend it. That so much. So, guys, if you want to have a reading with Stacy and let her predict your future, good or bad, then follow her on Facebook, add her as a friend, contact her on Facebook on either Learning Tarot or just your own personal page, which is Stacy Sparke. So just type that in. And can I just leave me say, Stacy, thank you so much. I know we've not even covered half of it.
I know.
And I know we've not even touched on to your mediumship experience. And you was in a coma at some point. There's so much to talk about. So hopefully in the future, in another podcast, we can bring you back. I'm sure our listeners love to have you back and to listen to a few more of these stories. But for now, Stacy, thanks very much. And I've enjoyed talking to you. I hope you have as well.
I've really enjoyed it, Gareth. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.